Hello students, good morning and welcome to my lectures. This is my lecture number 13 about ecology second. Today we are going to study the marine ecosystems and estuaries in details. In this connection we'll see what are the marine ecosystems and different type of marine related ecosystems. Yes, now you see what is a marine ecosystem. Marine ecosystems, there are three oceanic ecosystems: Nearctic zone ecosystem, you see that aquatic ecosystems, in aquatic ecosystems, marine ecosystems are very much just multiple and vast and universal in their natures. Marine ecosystems are located mainly in coastal areas and in the open ocean. Organisms that live in coastal areas adapt to changes in water level and salinity and light penetrations and so many physicochemical factors. Yes, again we see that organisms that live in the open oceans adapt to changes in temperatures and the amount of sunlight and nutrients available in the ocean. After looking in this diagram, now we see what are marine fauna. That is, fauna is a collective name for all animals. So in fishes we see in marine ecosystem sharks, clownfish, tuna, swordfish, stinging rays, eels, seahorse, sunfish, rockfish, grouper and gars are a few examples. Among mammals we see that blue whales, seals, dolphins, otters, manatees, etc. are famous mammals, aquatic mammals in oceans. Mollusks, octopus, cuttlefish, clams, squads, slugs, conch and snails are a few examples of mollusca or hard shell animals. Now we look at the different segments or parts of the zone ecosystems, marine ecosystems, which are designated according to their light penetrations, depth and salinity, etc. type of physicochemical characters. Intertidal zone ecosystem of the sea is the ecosystem where the land and sea meet together, join together. Between the low and high tidal zones found along the coastal line, which is rich in nutrients and oxygen contents and is the home of variety of organisms. Now we see the intertidal zones where the land and sea meet together, between the low and high tidal zones found along the coastal line, which is rich in nutrients and oxygen and is the home to a variety of organisms. After describing intertidal zones ecosystem, we see the Nearctic zone ecosystem of the ocean, a marine ecosystem. Shallow marine environment from low water to down 200 meters or 66 feet depths. The sunlight penetrates easily, allowing photosynthesis by the phytoplanktons and other bottom dweller organism photosynthetic in. Now dear students, we see the marine zonation. Zone or parts of the marine are designated into so many parts, and these are, we see one by one, we see that intertidal zones, neritic zone, oceanic zone, pelagic zone, photic zone, aphotic zone. Photic means where light can penetrate inside the water of the oceans. Abyssal zone and continental shelf zone, benthic zones, etc. You know that like lakes, the marine environment is generally classified on the basis of light penetration, that is photic and aphotic zones, distance from the shore and water depth, intertidal, neritic and oceanic zones, that is, and whether the environment is open water zone is pelagic zone, or pelagic zone, or on the bottom of the oceans is called as benthic and abyssal zone. Abyssal zone is very much what you call dark and very much what you call dangerous zone, and where light can't penetrate, and no animal activities are over there. And abyssal zone is the bottomless zone, that is infinite depth of the oceans with perpetual darkness. This abyssal part of the ocean or zone makes 83% of ocean's water body and 60% of the earth area on this planet. Now, dear students, you see this continental zone is a permanent home for crabs, starfish, shrimps and sea urchins, etc. type of animals. Furthermore, we see flatfish, cod. Cod is a famous fish for its oil extraction, cod liver oil, and tuna are found at the edge of this intercontinental zone, and that is littoral zone or near shore zone. This is near this shore of the oceans is littoral zone, is the part of the sea to lake or river that is close to the shoreland, having tides and long shore currents and breaking storm waves. This type of healthy ecosystem is important for wildlife habitat, water quality, soil erosion and control, and not in sea but also in lakes. This zone here the land is subjected to wave action, so it is a dynamic zone of rapid changes with the time factor of the zone. Now this benthic zone or bottom part of the oceans or benthic zone ecosystem. This is the deepest area of the water body, including some of the sediments at the bottom of the sea, but littoral zone is near the shore, that is a few feet from the shore of a lake or oceans. Both littoral and benthic zones overlap each other. Littoral zone and limnotic zone makes a photic zone. Both are light penetration zone. Limnotic zone means very water is transparent, and you see limnology is the study of freshwater biology, where phytoplanktons and zooplanktons are found, and physicochemical study of freshwater, transparent water where light penetration is sufficient is called limnology. After this name, limnology is limnotic zone. Yeah. Now you see that oceanic zone, very big zone. Dear students, it is the region of the open sea or ocean beyond the edge of continental shelf, and it includes 65% of ocean's completely open water. The terrain and crevices of this zone are deepest than Mount Everest in Nepal. Although it is difficult for life to sustain itself in this type of environment, but many species of animals have adopted and do thrive in this oceanic zone very comfortably due to their acclimatization and adaptations to this type of what you call deep water part of the ocean. Now, coral reef ecosystem of the ocean is very what you call amazing or fascinating topic of study. We see corals. Corals are marine invertebrate animals within the class Anthrozoa of the phylum Nidria, or we call in other words coelentrates. They live in compact colonies and in compound form of what you call different animals associated together in symbiotic relationships. Yes, you see, coral reef is a ridge of rock in the sea formed by the growth and deposition of corals. A small island is enclosed in the middle of the coral reef, which make the what you call islands in the water of the oceans. This underwater ecosystem are formed of colonies of coral polyps. Polyps are tiny coral animals held together by calcium carbonate. Polyps are cup-shaped skeleton of corals. Stony corals cluster in groups, make most parts of the ocean reefs and making coral reef ecosystem. Well, dear students, now we see different type of corals, and here I would like to explain a part of coral body anatomy. You see that tube-shaped body of the corals, having the mouth on the upper side, from which ingestion of food, expulsion of waste are carried out. That is, mouth and anus is the same opening at the anterior of the animals, which is surrounded by a number of tentacles which are holding or capturing organs for capturing food by paralyzing different sort of animals. Tube-shaped body, and these corals are sessile. Sessiles means they can't move and fixed to some substratum or fix to any spot. After you see mouth and anus one and the same, then we see the gut, digestive what you call tube for digestion of the food materials, and skin or upper chest, you see what you call part of the body of this skin contains different sort of algae what you call attached to them, giving the corals different sort of different kind of colorations or what you call pigmentations. Then skeleton, which is the most important part of the corals. Skeleton is made of calcium carbonates. It is the protective and what you call cementing materials for formations of the coral reefs and the body skeleton of the corals. Now, simultaneously, we would like to see the different sort of corals. Here, 7 type of what you call structurally different sort of corals are seen. Plate-like corals, foliaceous and leaf-like, and crossing type of free-living corals, columnar corals, column-like, just like pillars, and massive corals, very mass and just like a stony, big stone-like, and branches and dichotomous or any sort of multiple branching sort of coral. Now we are going to see the corals in different oceans. So we know there are 7 seas on this earth. They are just specific North Pacific Ocean, South Pacific Ocean, North Atlantic and South Atlantic Oceans, Indian Oceans and North Pacific Oceans. And interestingly, I would like to describe you 3 type of just oceans. Name very what you call interestingly. One is the Red Sea. Why Red Sea is called as Red Sea? Because its water is just very red because of the coral depositions and inhabitation of the corals, along with algae attached with them in symbiotic relationship. Actually, the color of the algae making the water looking red. That is why it is called as Red Sea. Then again we see what you call Black Sea. Black Sea is a very what you call different sort of environment. In its the water is very crazy cold, and the existence of life over there is much less, and that is why we see Black Sea is very much dangerous what you call oceans, and people don't like to just get in touch with this sort of oceans. And Red Sea, Black Sea, and another is Dead Sea. Dead Sea is over there I'm just intermingling the Dead Sea and Black Sea. In Jordan and Israel, part of this is part of the oceans over there in Jordan, in Israel, in Jerusalem, and tributaries, that in feeding river of this Black Sea or Dead Sea is Jordan rivers, which is feeding these oceans. Okay, we are describing. There is a beautiful picture of the different type of corals with different colorations, making the water of the oceans like a galaxy of a sky with so many stars lighting. So it is a very fascinating what you call spectacular scene in the oceans with coral ecosystem. Dear students, how an abstract or outline diagram of coral growths at the just edges of these diagrams. Then we see islands is formed where inhabitants or humans or animal inhabitants can be make islands. And sedimentations and subsidence. Subsidence is a just is a cavity or vacuums or deposition in the bottom of the just coral reefs, deposition of different dead materials and sediments or etc. type of substances. Reef flat type of reefs. Reef is just flatly just making just land plane like structure, and sea is just infinite coverage of sea around all these things. And lagoon is a part of water bodies which is separated from the sea, and this is a what you call associated water body with the oceans, and lagoon become independent and along with sea. So there is a movie as well, namely the Blue Lagoon. You can see the movie as well, students. The development of coral reef structure is helped or aided by symbiotic algae with reef building corals known as Zoanthili, Zoanthili algae. This must be a family, Zoanthili algae. Corals are found in specific oceans: the Indian Ocean, Red Sea, Caribbean Sea, and per ecosystem. Now, dear student, you can say a home tech message. Our oceans are greatest reservoir of nutrients and seafoods. 85% of oxygen of biosphere comes from the marine sources of oceans. Marine biology, oceanography, mangroves, shrimp culture, navigation, etc. are a few examples of importance of oceans. Ocean is the cradle of living organism. Life originated here in oceans. You know that there are 7 seas. Some of them are known as Dead Sea, Red Sea, and Black Seas. I have already described for your interested students. Dear student, listen and read these lectures loudly if you are alone, so that nobody is disturbed. Time and again you must repeat this lecture to prepare for your exam. Attentive listening, writing, and reading are the 3 collective ways of learning and memorization for your preparation of exam. Nothing like good preparation with hard work or diligence.